It costs over $1 billion to develop a championship winning F1 engine, hundreds of millions of dollars just to run a team for 1 year, and many years and over 1,000 people to design and build each F1 car. On the EduTech podcast, we normally talk to venture capitalists and startups, but none of them are spending that much money on research and development. By 2026, every F1 car will have a brand new engine. By 2030, every F1 team aims to be net zero emissions. We came to the Grand Prix in Singapore 2023 to find out what fans think. Let's go find out. How do you think the push toward net zero will impact F1 going forward?
I think it will impact in a way where we're cutting down on pollution. That's the number one thing, and that would challenge all the drivers with with the changing of I guess the structure and the design of the cars and everything to make sure less pollution.
And do you think this is going to filter down to regular people's cars and regular people's lives?
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that will encourage all those, I would say, noisy cars. Yeah, I mean, they wake me up at night. Yeah, to like, yes, I know you love the speed and all that. Maybe less noise and pollution, bring it down.
Thank you very much. What's your favorite F1 team?
Well, McLaren, of course.
I just wanted to confirm. Maybe your wife made you wear that shirt, and I don't know that.
Very true.
I love it. Okay, do you think McLaren will have to wait until the new engines to win again?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll win before the year's out.
Do you really? And which one of the drivers do you think is going to win?
Oh, I think Norris will take it first.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
What's more important in F1? The insanely great tech or the driver, and why?
Okay, I think the driver is probably more important, but obviously you need tech as well. So I think they need to be, obviously work in conjunction with each other. But yeah, obviously guys like Lewis, got to be a good driver, right?
So who's your favorite driver?
I'd probably say Ricardo because he's Aussie. Yeah, so
I like it. Fair answer. Fair answer. Okay, thank you very much, Steve, for doing that.
yeah, cool. No worries at all.
So what's more important for an F1 team? The insanely great tech or the driver, and why?
I think it's the tech because the driver, he can push it. But the tech, in the car, you got to have the speed and the handling. And the downforce is pretty important through corners. So, yeah.
Are you an engineer?
No,
Do you have to be when you grow older?
maybe.
Thank you very much for answering that question.
You're welcome.
I am here with
Alejandro,
Alejandro. It's great to meet you. Where are you from?
I'm from Mexico.
I love it. Did you come all the way here just for F1?
Yes, of course.
Did you really?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, what's your favorite team? Because it's not obvious to me.
Are you sure? It's for Red Bull.
Okay, it wasn't clear to you either. Okay, let me ask you a question. What's the most important thing for any F1 team? Is it the insanely great tech or the driver?
It's a combination of both, I think.
No. It's a binary question. Which one is it?
The drivers.
The drivers. Tell me why.
Because you got to get a good driver to perform. Because as you can see, some teams have bad drivers that don't perform and some good ones. Like Aston Martin will be a good example. Fernando's doing great, and I haven't seen Lance.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
I've waited 58 years to come to my first F1 race, and the first one had to be in Singapore. If you've never been to an F1 Grand Prix, you have to come to the one in Singapore. The sound, the symphony of sound, the speed is inexplicable. You have to come to see it, and I highly recommend you come to the one in Singapore. Jaden, you're aware that all F1 teams aim to be net zero emission by 2030. Do you know that?
Yes.
And what's your opinion on this? Do you think it's possible? And if you do think it's possible, why do you think it's important?
I think it's really important for us to take care of sustainability and to make sure that we all do our part for F1 and for the rest of the world.
And are you interested in the fact that Aramco is also funding the fueling? I find it really fascinating as well that they're involved in actually changing the fuel from fossil fuel to this new fuel.
Definitely. I think that is definitely something that if an oil company is somewhat committed to doing so, it's really a step towards the right direction.
I agree. One more question. On an F1 team, what's more important, the tech or the driver?
That's a tough one, man. But I guess I would say it's both because you can't do one.
It's a binary question. Which one?
definitely the team. I think the team plays a very important role.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to ask you this. You're familiar with the fact that all F1 teams need to be or are aiming to be net zero by 2030.
I am.
Do you think this is actually possible?
I think it's going to be a challenge when you get to all of the extra things that we're doing, thinking about the helicopters that we're doing in, say, in Great Britain and in Australia, all of the extra things that we're doing for entertainment purposes. It's very hard to find how we're going to actually bring that down to net zero without doing extra compensating controls.
So what impact do you think all the travel for F1 has, and how do you think they're going to disintermediate that?
This is going to be a huge process. If we want to get down to net zero, honestly, you're going to have to shrink the global scale that they're traveling. That becomes a massive issue. Or we're going to have to change to a different form of transportation.
Do you think that airplanes could actually go to electric and actually contribute then to net zero?
We have seen electric planes,
Honda does this, right?
but the problem is that the scale and the weight and the actual amount of cargo we have to carry, right now we're not there. So the time frame by 2030, at least at the current scale, doesn't look possible.
Okay, and the last question I want to ask you is, do you think this is going to, when they actually do it and when they actually accomplish this, because all this technology, kind of like the space program, like ends up filtering down to regular people, do you think this is also going to filter down?
I think if you actually look at all technology that F1's done over the period of time, that's literally what happens. You see what the progress they've made with hybrid cars coming into this. And I honestly think that's the biggest benefit you'll see. Regardless if we hit it by 2030, you're going to see massive benefit coming down because we're going to have those innovations here.
Okay, one more question, a little bit more whimsical. You're a big F1 fan?
Huge F1 fan.
Who's your favorite team?
I love McLaren, and Piastri is my favorite.
Awesome. Okay, what's more important to an F1 team? And it's a binary question. The technology that goes into the car or the driver?
I have to say the driver.
Tell me why.
Look, the technology itself is amazing, and I think that's what's driving all the innovations. But the reality is, watching driver for driver, that's what I want to see. And the reality is, that's why I kind of love F2 when we're actually sitting in cars that are the same. But the technology wouldn't be where it is without this type of innovation, so we have to see that go.
What do you do for a living, by the way?
I sell software.
Awesome. Nick, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
What's the one thing I find most surprising in Formula One is I think what you find surprising at all of these events is that like 20% of the people that are here are unbelievable fans and 80% are here just for the event. But I will say this, the surprising thing is the speed of the cars in person is inexplicable. You can't tell on TV, you can't tell on YouTube, and you can't tell unless you're here to experience it yourself. What about the engines? I don't know what to say about the engines except the symphony of noise is so amazing. When you hear them go by, it's like you can hear them coming from a mile away. And just that sound when they downshift and upshift and when they speed up is insane. Spectaculicious is what I would say. Where are you from?
Hong Kong, yeah.
You are from Hong Kong. Did you come here just for the race?
Yeah, and Post Malone apparently.
For some of the concert as well. Are you a big F1 fan?
I would say I'm getting to know more about F1, but definitely, yeah.
Awesome. Are you aware that all F1 teams are aiming to be net zero emissions by 2030?
Yep, heard of it.
And do you think this is important? And tell me why.
Yeah, I think definitely, like, if you consider like a global trend in terms of like automobile as a whole, every country is like trying to achieve that like sustainability goal, I would say. So definitely like F1 being such a huge auto racing sport, definitely it's a very ambitious, but then important goal.
Okay, and one more thing. What do you think is the most important thing for an F1 team? And it's a binary question. Do you think it is the technology that goes into the car or the driver?
I have to go 50-50 here.
Cannot do it. It's a binary question. What do you think?
It's a car. I think F1 all in all is a very mechanical driven sport. Driver's technique definitely important, but then I think car kind of decide the result more.
For an F1 team, what's more important, do you think? The technology that's in the car or the driver that's in the car?
I think it's the driver in the car. I think it comes down to the mentality of the driver. I think the consistency, the risk taking, and having spoken to a few drivers, I think when they don't have, let's say, children or any beneficiaries, they generally take a lot more risk on the race course. So young drivers tend to perform a lot better, is what we've realized.
How comfortable are you with taking risk?
Extremely comfortable at the moment. Not having too many, responsibilities in life, so I'm a big risk taker.
What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Biggest risk I've taken was in a mining company, a lithium mining company in Australia. We put in a decent quantum in there, and in the end it did pay off, but that's not very frequent.
You have to be in a position to understand what it feels like to be in a position. Risk taking is really different than most things that people do. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this, Omar. Tell us what you think about all F1 teams going net zero by 2030 in the comments below. And also tell us what you think is more important. Is it the tech in the car or the driver in the car? I had an amazing time at my first F1. Not only did I get to come down on the track, but I also got to take a look at the pit as well. Unbelievable. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe below. Bye.